Things get lost. Sometimes. Sometimes, despite our best efforts, we forget things. We miss things. This is not the lost episode of Desperate Attune. This is merely a tribute, a recap, a summary. Still, we hope you enjoy listening to it. Uduasha City, where the sun is a mirror and the moon a shadow, where dancers cavort in forbidden operas, making love to forgetting and flaying, where the wealthy play at war with silver swords and silken sashes, where the people mine the dead heart of a burning star for cannonballs and pipework, and where 1,000 secrets hide in a forest of paper and ink. Here, the 5 keybearers reside, the 5 who know the secrets of the broken gates of death. 5 only. There is no 6th spire, forlorn and forgotten in the desert. There is no one who looks to the displaced, the poor and destitute and landless, whose ancestry has been stripped from them by foreign looms and foreign sparkcraft, and no one has ever heard of the House of Ending. But this is their story. Their roots pulled up and burned, they stand in filth up to their necks, and that is precisely why they must keep their heads ever high. Welcome to Uduasha, immigrant. May it fear the name of the house you will build. Welcome to Desperate Attune, an actual play podcast about characters with their identities in peril, played by an international cast devoted to fiction-first gaming, collaborative world-building, and complex character drama. Welcome back to Desperate Attune, everyone, on a slightly unfortunate episode, or slightly unfortunate incident. We have lost some of the audio that we recorded, which we are very sorry about. So this is going to be a recreation of the roughly 2 episodes of content which we are missing to catch you up to speed. I maybe don't have to get into the details of it, but some audio has been lost. Nothing to be done about it. And so we are going to recreate it as best we can and catch you up between the point where Bidruhi and Mushfik decide to go after Jasper, which happened last episode. After that, we will see the score in the desert, because that is where we are going this session. The crew decided to target Omid and the Jezzail cheese, Jasper's Jezzail cheese, in their dealings and doings in the desert, but had no obvious angle to do that at the end of last session. But an opportunity presents itself through Giscard, who is the very exceedingly bribable Silver Nail, who's one of Moss's favorite contacts, who showed up at the restaurant in the Hand that serves snails. Giscard called in his end of the favor that Saida negotiated with him during the War of the Falling Star, and the two of them had a conversation.
We meet at the pub that we've seen before when we went to meet Mona Darling. For Saida, it's a bit of a break, I guess. Traditional kind of minor food, mosses, snails, that kind of thing. But both Giscard and Saida are, I think, quite stressed. I think we know that Saida has been unfortunately taking up the smoking habit again. It's not as if Giscard is much better. And it seems like Giscard may have a job for them, because he asks whether Saida's familiar with the Deathlands. And it turns out that Giscard's superior is... we don't want to admit that he's missing, but it's probably missing. I can't recall, actually. I don't think Data is a he, him, is he?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, okay, great. Well, yeah, so apparently he's gone missing, which isn't, great news for anybody. And they want him retrieved, but they want him retrieved somewhat discreetly. Because it seems like the Lord Governor, who is normally a political figurehead in Uduasha, technically just a bureaucrat or even just an ambassador, but in this case is quite angry, and he does control the Silver Nails, which is who Giscard belongs to. So he's chosen to send out Jasper's Jazelchis to retrieve the missing data, and it seems to Saida very obvious that the Jazelchis basically want to replace the Silver Nails. Basically turn up, say, well, it's so sad, Data's dead. Why don't you give us the job of guarding the Lord Governor and policing the foreign quarter? And I think Saida, it strikes her that there's money in this. There's definitely the ability to not just get what she thinks she wants, but also get the name of the rising moon out there a little bit more. And so Saida suggests that maybe the rising moon could help.
Or money.
For money and other things, which will become somewhat more clear. And so Saida, I'm just reading this. It says Saida around the year 850 says, Bidrohi would say Omid is quite taken with Mushfiq, but I would say he's quite taken with Mushfiq's death. Which I don't think is incorrect, but
It's the most important moment of that conversation.
That's what you said. Own up to it, Tree.
Yeah. So I think Giscard really doesn't want to go out there. I think they know pretty well that it could go badly, and as a result, that it's probably better if someone else takes the fall. And Saida, a friend of a friend, seems competent, but most importantly, if they die, it's not really like anybody's gonna notice or care. Which I think is really what is motivating them at this moment. So Giscard and Saida have this conversation, and Saida rules quite well to gather information, and therefore turns out that we get some information. We get the information that the captain's name is Data, but we also get the information that Data isn't just the leader of the Silver Nails. He's the head bodyguard to the governor. He's very well known in the city. People like Bidrohi look up to Data as a kind of swashbuckling pirate type figure.
Hey, what the hell?
Hey, all I'm saying is, I'm not saying Bidrohi, I'm saying people like Bidrohi.
You mean Catrices?
Either you like the Falling Star or you like the Silver Nails. It's like football teams. Sorry, roofball teams.
Yeah, exactly. It is exactly like that. See?
Choose your violent stealer.
Yeah. I think actually Bidrohi should be flattered by the comparison. But
actually, I think it's people like Saida who like people like Darta.
Saida doesn't get along with such people, as evidenced by the fact that they didn't even offer him a smoke. And nobody was there to suggest otherwise. And also, I think that everybody is kind of keen to go out into the desert. The city is kind of oppressive and terrible to be in. And the heat's really both literally and figuratively going up. It might be good to get out of the way, is I think what Saida's thinking. And if it just turns out that the Lord Governor might look kindly upon us and help us, hey, why not?
Only Saida would think the vibes in the city are shit. Let's go out into the Deathlands.
Do you know where there aren't any vibrations? Out there.
Yeah.
Nothing moves. Everything's dead.
But consider it's the most romantic place for Mushfiq and Omid to have their showdown.
There's fuel to the death. Indeed, correct.
There will be a show, and there will be some going down.
Oh my god. I can't believe that both of you said going down at practically the same time. That's bad. That does not bode well for us. Saida's impression of the meeting is very much, this is work. And you can't break some eggs without making some omelets. Like it's just how it goes.
Sure. Yes.
Isn't that how it goes?
That is how
You
it
said
goes.
break some eggs without breaking some omelets?
Without making
No, I
some
said
omelets.
you can't break some eggs without making some omelets.
Uh-huh.
That's what I said.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's the direction entropy works in, you see.
Mhm.
Yes.
So, what happened though was that Giscard managed to smuggle Saida a piece of highly confidential paper that Saida was not supposed to have, which is why Darta was in the desert. Like, why was this man out there and got himself in trouble? Why is the head of the Silver Nails and this badass bodyguard getting in danger in the desert? And the answer is that he was meeting one of the desert tribes, ostensibly under the control of Udwasha, but the Akorosi are meddling, and the Lord Governor is playing politics himself with the tribes in the desert. And so, as the governor is doing this without the notice of the demon houses, just kind of doing some politics of his own with local tribes, it is a highly politically sensitive matter, which is partly why Giscard lets it fall to...
Immaculately dressed, incredibly persuasive and suave, Saida and Khatam
Yes.
and her ladies.
Relevant to this is that the tribe that the Lord Governor was trying to sway to his side by sending out Darta was called the Cholmondelese, a highly aggressive tribe likely to have robbed... Yes?
I remember in session 18, the real session 18, when you said that name, I descended into cursing and interrupted you. So, in that spirit, fuck you.
Yes.
Oh my god, I cannot believe that. Did you really do this to me? They are called the Chola Mandalas, actually.
Yes.
Please
Yes. Yes.
Apparently, it's actually pronounced Chumley.
Yes.
Yes,
No!
that is
Yes,
indeed
what?
how you
Not permitted.
pronounce.
We do not permit that.
That's
We
the
do
English
permit that,
pronunciation.
actually.
This is... Yes.
Yeah, and we are an international cast
Uh-huh.
of
Why did
fiction
they-
first role players, and it's
Salty, how would
important
you
that
say
this
it?
is fiction first. Chumley.
As someone who, but you aren't English, you're British.
Well, rule fucking Britannia. It's pronounced Chumley.
Uh-huh.
You were going to say Britannia?
Britchumlia. Yes. I should have named it the Britchumlians. Alas. Anyway.
So I was just wondering what happened to the two syllables in the middle. So, Cholmondeley.
Budget cuts, austerity.
There we go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yes.
So, the sum of it all is that the crew was sent out by Giscard to make contact with the Cholmondelese, who have... I'm just going to change the pronunciation every time now. But
Yes.
they are fairly aggressive people living in the desert who don't have a good relationship with the Ketrusi, and evidently not with the Silver Nails, having, Darta's diplomatic mission did not go well, and now the man is missing. And... Yeah, and so that was the setup for the score that the crew is embarking upon. And the first person to gather info on the situation was Bidrohi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when we first heard, I remember that there was the scene where we all got together and this scheme was revealed to us, and Bidrohi and Mushfik tried to pool their knowledge about had we heard of these inhabitants of the Cholomon Islands, and we hadn't. And Clem also was ignorant of these matters, but that's understandable. Clem is not Iruvian. But we knew someone who was also a wide wanderer of the world, but specifically of the desert of Iruvia. So I contacted Moss, and we used the vulture that Moss gifted Bidrohi as a sort of two-way communication system. And we sent her a message about the tribe. I forget what the message specifically included, aside from a question about hey, have you heard of the Cholman Khans? And
I understand what you are doing, and I will make you regret it.
Okay.
I don't understand what he's doing.
This is a mite
I'm just
confusing.
confused.
We are still talking about one tribe. We are just giving them funny names. That is what's going on. For the listener here, to clarify.
Listen, they were given a funny name to begin with. Right.
What's wrong
Yes.
with
Yeah.
the
We
name?
continue.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. Go
Yeah.
on with your
Yeah.
Chalman Khans.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes. And then we received apparently Moss sent back several bunches of banana. Oh yeah. Oh yes. Okay, I remember the message now. It was a message for, hello, have you heard of the Cholman Khans? Also, by the way, Mushfik Bhai really wants some Ketrusi bananas. Can you send bananas back and also strategic information, please? Thank you. So we received back several bunches of bananas.
Strategic information.
Oh,
Yes.
Moss did that. That's so
Yeah,
nice.
Moss did that. Yeah, of course. So we also received a warning from Moss that the tribe is extremely unpredictable. Apparently, they lost their old leader, and this leader may have been replaced. And with this information, Bidrohi kind of like got the crew back together again, and we were trying to figure out what exactly is our angle here. Like what is the reason that we want to go into the Deathlands? Which, well, Syed is like, that sounds like a nice vacation from my troubles, but
It was actually.
yeah, it ended up being that. But let's not spoiler things, right?
Yeah,
No spoilers. Yeah, but it sounded worrying, and Clem was displeased by the idea of working with the nails and retrieving data. Would you like to elaborate on that, Salty?
Yeah, Clem just does not like the silver nails, mainly because this bears a lot of resemblance to how the Akarosi conquered Severos in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
what's better than an alive silver nail than a dead one? But Saida goes, no, we need the money. And Clem goes, yeah, that's fair. I'm living. I'm squatting in the blacksmith's supply closet, so I guess, yeah, we do need the money.
Mm-hmm.
We don't just need the money, we also need the reputation.
Yeah. I think Bidri realized that, like, Saida wants to do this. Clem doesn't want to do it, so he drew Clem aside as discreetly as possible by saying something about, like, hey, sibling Clem, let's go outside and talk about your sex life, or something along those lines. I assume it was smoother in the actual session than it is in the notes. Yeah, it couldn't have gone other ways.
Yeah.
No, I'm just imagining Tommy was so like, yo,
Yeah.
Yes.
and, we have to go into the desert anyway. How is your sex life?
Are you getting laid?
This is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I hear it is important for your health.
Which is important for your health.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we don't have this in the recap, but I feel like we did have this conversation, didn't we, Salty, about like what your stance on the silver nails is, and like, because Bidrohi is a man of the world. He knows a lot of things. He knows things are more complicated than just like I am Severosi. All Severosi are the same, but he also doesn't know about the power balances with Severos, and also you fought for the Empire yourself. So, like, what's your deal with that? Like, why do you hate people who fight for the Empire, etc., etc.? So I think, like, it was a conversation roughly on those lines. I don't remember the particulars, though, which is unfortunate because that sounds like it was probably quite revelatory. Do you remember your end of it?
Yeah, I think it had something to do with Clem didn't choose to fight for the Empire. The Silver Nails did. The Silver Nails do.
Mm-hmm.
And continue to do so. So
yeah.
that's, I think that was a little bit about their love life. The love of the Empire.
Which you don't love.
The Imperial March playing balefully in the background.
Hate fucking the Empire. Sorry. Anyway.
Oh my god. Yeah, we got that. We absolutely got that. Thank you.
Is that the name of
and
the
Bidrohi realizes how much of Clem's relationships are based off of that, which is why they're perfect for Mushfik.
Not why they're perfect for Tamara?
Oh, that's... Okay. We have to remember that there's so much stuff that happens in the sessions afterwards. Yeah. But I think, we already established that we seeded the ground for Klemfik.
Yes.
Mushentine.
Mushentine.
The session before this.
I hate both of these things.
Yeah, but I think like the ultimate thing here was that we decided that we would in fact go seek out Dartha, and for
I know the name. It's Severosi Bananas.
Say what now?
The ship name. It's Severosi Bananas.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, Prince, can I ask you to edit that out?
Prince, can I ask you not to?
There will be a ship name. Don't worry about it.
Good.
The ship name is Mushy Clementine. Come on.
Mushy Clementine.
Oh, no.
Come on.
Yeah.
Very
yeah.
good. Yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So one imagines that the conversation with Clem and Bidre was roughly like this, digressive and strange.
Mm.
And in the end, no one was satisfied. But ultimately, we decided to go after to try to rescue Dartha, and I think we realized that we would not be able to like reconcile our reasons for doing so. So we would just have to do it in our own ways and for our own reasons. But like we were happy to make that. We were happy to have a concordance in action, if not motive. So then Bidre did a bit more gathering information to find out like, okay, so who are the actual JSLCs going into the group, going into the desert? Obviously, it has to be Omid, right? Omid, not just because Omid is a very important part of the JLCs, but also because of, well, that's just how narrative works.
Yeah, we haven't
Prince would
actually
never deprive us.
Yeah, we haven't also mentioned this, but the other team that is looking for Dartha are the Jasailchis, who have also been hired to find Dartha. This is a big reason why Mushfiq is motivated to go into the desert, because Omid is also on Dartha's trail, which I don't think was mentioned before.
No, I think I did say it, but not exactly in that way. But you're not wrong that like
okay.
Probably one of the things that Saida was thinking about at that time was I mean, so long as Omid's in there somewhere, Mushfiq's going to be up for it, right? Yeah, don't worry about it, man. Totally fine.
I think that's probably a big reason why Giscard went to us instead of like some other mercenary group, because there's other people who actually spend more time out in the desert, but not that many people who have been known to tangle with the JSLCs and also get the upper hand, right? Yeah. So we found out a little bit about like who's actually going out there from the JLCs, and of course, yes, Omid, because of course, but also we found out about someone else, a character called Inaya, who is characterized here as a bit of a glory hound, and we will see more of her afterwards. But it's Omid and Inaya, and they don't get along. Bidri also tried to figure out like, okay, but like what's kind of special Deathlands hardware they taking out in there, and like what else have they brought in? But then I think Shere Khatam coming in hot manages to figure out some of that information. So
right, yeah, okay. So it doesn't say here how much Mick knows about what the Jazilts are taking in there, but I suppose he just knows from his experience with them in the past. And what he does know is that the Jazilchis have fire-breathing, coast-eating camels. That's their main mode of transport. And of course, the Jazilchis have their famous long-barreled rifle Jazils, which makes them deadly at long range. And so Wishbig suggests, and again, it doesn't say here, so I'm trying to recall which is I think we tried to find some kind of a place in the desert which is not just like flat sand, but more of like a rocky like type of area, so where we might be able to.
Yeah, we were going to try and lure them into an ambush, right?
Yeah,
Didn't you also find out that they had a cannon mounted on a camel as well? They had a cool cannon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. They had.
That's a real thing.
Yeah, used by the Persians and Ottomans, I believe. I forget what it's called.
Zamburak.
Zamburak, that's the one.
And to be honest, there probably is a Pokemon at this point, which is a camel and a cannon at once. So, time is a flat circle.
Wasn't that in Generation 3?
Oh, yeah, Cameron had a volcano.
Yeah, Cameron had a volcano. In any case, it's Shah Shuja and then Konami. Do Konami make Pokemon? You know what I mean. Know what?
Yes.
Pokemon Company, get in on this. You could have a camel and a cannon together.
Yeah. And the evolution of it will be a cannon that fires a camel.
Yeah.
No, that'd be Digimon, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I feel like we're getting off track here, gang.
I would never
so yes.
We're
anyway,
on complete track.
So that's what Wishwick knows, and apparently that's all for now. And the baton shall then be passed back to Prince to continue the rest of the story.
Having learned all this, that Jasper and Jasper's Giselchis, under the leadership of Omid, is going into the desert to track down Darta, and that they have these camels and this second in command, Inaya, the Glory Hound, the crew borrowed some horses from Giscard in return for a lot of coins. So this was a borrowing in exchange for a bribe, kind of illegally renting some horses.
Illegal renting of horses sounds like what you say when you really mean, I stole the horses, but I promise I'm going to give them back.
Yes, but in this case, it actually was renting them, just without permission.
We were renting things from someone who didn't have permission to sell them to us.
Yes, basically
that's what it was. You're right. Yeah, correct.
Yep. So, having rented some horses, the crew then relied on their safe passages into the desert that they learned about from Gurban the Camel some time ago, including the Cave of Embers, this cave with a single piece of the fallen star inside of it.
Listeners will recognize this passage from the twin episodes, the first of which was titled Bats! Ah! And the second episode, which was titled Mushfik punches a bat in this episode.
Yes. So, as they traveled out, the crew investigated what was going on, particularly Saida, but Saida's main focus was communing with Samum, the desert wind demon, now that it's out in the desert, though a little too close to the fallen star shard for its liking, as they make camp in this cave with a glowing ember, the piece of a falling star inside of it. Saida meditates over the desert wind. Bidruhi and Bejal shared some conversations about interior design. Pilot and Clem do not talk, but Pilot and Clem did go out to scout the desert. Sorry, Clem and Mona Darling went out to scout the desert.
Mona Darling. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Would you like to take it from here, Clem?
I can indeed. Again, similarly, Clem and Mona Darling do not talk while they're out in the desert. This is a time for not talking, and Bidrahi is the one who does all of the talking. This is Girls' Night. So the first place I could ambush is a little bit too close for the lair for Clem's comfort, where the bats originally were, with all of those glass ribs of volcanic rock that they remember hang gliding down onto. And there was also a place where there was a dead sea, a pelagic zone, where when the star fell from the sky, this sea was boiled away completely. And Clem knows this because their friend, the professor, teacher, kindly scholar, knows this as well. And Clem does not intimate to Mona Darling that this is weird in any way, that how this thing communicates is through the taste of salt water and tear tracks as well. They ride back, no conversation. This is very normal activity for the Rising Moon Sword School at the moment. It's the desert. Weird things happen out in the desert. What happens in the desert stays in the desert.
What happens in the desert stays in the desert, because
I love this.
if it tries to come into the desert, it falls into the well.
Yeah.
I love the description of Girls' Night as being a stoic, silent activity.
This is how I know you're not a girl, Zoheb. Because from what I understand...
If I was a girl, I'd know that.
Yeah. From what I understand, silent stoicism is in fact the key thing that Girls' Night consists of.
Yeah, Girls' Night comes to an end when Clem comes back and decides we are going to go to the sea because we've already been to what might as well be a place where nuclear waste was once stored. It's more fun to do the sea thing. And there could be quicksand there as well. And any child of the 90s knows quicksand is the most dangerous thing on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
So why not make the camels get stuck in quicksand?
I like how you're asserting that you're a child of the 90s.
Yes.
I was born in the
90s.
Salty has the barest claim to this title. The barest possible claim.
We do not gatekeep.
Born in December 30.
We only gaslight
31st,
girl
1999.
boss.
Yeah, correct. Oh shit, Salty, are you like a Y2K child? Is it like, oh my god, I was born just as the midnight clock struck 12, and as a result, I am actually a glitch in the system?
I am error.
I'm Error. Yeah, indeed.
Uh-huh.
I am
I'm
error
Error,
in
the
this
destroyer
out.
of worlds.
Uh-huh.
All your base are belong to us. Yes.
Very
Yes,
good.
indeed.
Uh-huh. A meme which is about the same age. But anyway, yeah. So to this ghost of a lake is where you're going. So the lake boiled away, but the place that Clem has scouted out is like the lake still exists in the ghost field because the lake died, so the ghost of it is still there. And so this is where the crew set up to plan an ambush. And so seeing 9 people plus Omid, Inaya, and a quartermaster, so a total of 12, come through the desert. Inaya is on a camel, Omid on foot, the other camel laden with ammunition and weaponry. They head quietly through the valley, these Jezailchis, Omid and company. And the crew position themselves on top of a sandy slope, ready to storm down and ambush the Jezailchis, taking them out of the equation so that the crew can claim Darta and the bounty for rescuing Darta on their own, and also, of course, so that Mushfiq can get revenge on Omid and finally get him where he wants him. And there was a wrinkle, though, which is that Saida summoned Samum. And how did that go?
Listen, it's really important for everyone to know that when you share a toxic relationship with a demon of the desert, and then you go out into the desert, that you keep the toxicity at acceptable levels. And so Saida kind of knew that communing with Samum might be somewhat different out here. Saida did not realize that maybe the thing that they should have been afraid of wasn't, I don't know, demon fire, but demon jealousy. Because the thing that happened was that Saida didn't just summon Samum, but Saida also summoned the ghost of the pelagic lake, of the pelagic ocean that once existed here. And this ghost of this pelagic ocean obviously, ended up absolutely spooking the shit out of the Jezailchis, which, as you can imagine, was not good for
But it was
the
funny.
Jezailchis involved. It was mildly amusing. What was also somewhat concerning was that Samum somehow became, I don't know. We are out in the desert. Samum feels more connected to the desert, feels a bit more like, oh yeah, you know what, like this is my
Letting my
jam.
freak flag fly.
As if Samum has done anything but this
Mm.
in the history of existence.
Mhm.
And yet somehow this ghost, this pelagic ghost, I think, really begins to make it suspect that maybe Saida is not quite in love with Samum as it might imagine, it might hope, it might wonder. I also want to be clear. Using the memory of a
Dead Sea.
fucked up Dead Sea ghost in order to motivate a
hijacking.
Yeah, I guess that's the way you put it, is bad. Don't do that. It's bad.
Yeah, but we did look really cool, like standing up on this sandy slope. If there was a sun, we would have been silhouetted by it. We looked so cool on our horses.
We would have been silhouetted by it. I guess you're right. I guess. Yeah.
This is all for the
Thank you for that
aesthetic.
clarification. Yes, it is. After all, that's why we do things.
Mhm. And then Bidjoy did something normal instead of this bullshit. And,
Listen,
Mhm.
when you call upon
Mhm.
the Prince of Endings, you better be ready for him to answer.
Okay. Good.
That's all I
So
have to say.
Bidjoy did something normal and didn't call upon the Prince of Endings. Didn't make their demonic garment lover jealous. Didn't raise up the ghost of a sea just to, let's be clear, make it slightly more convenient to hijack some goods.
But then it worked out so well, it made it way more convenient, though.
Yeah.
Mm.
So Bidjoy was like, okay, I'm going to ride in through these ghosts. And he rode in first. I think Mona was a close second. I think I remember that. So I think the first person he went for writing down was the one that had all the majority of the supplies, with the logic that, well, that's where the electroplasmic grenades and the spark grab and the lightning hooks and so on would be kept. All the stuff that you would really need to survive out in the Deathlands, especially when ghosts bear down upon you. So if you're going to attack someone, it should be you should go for the supply camel. So he went for the supply camel. And on the way, the quartermaster of the JSLCs was in the way with an electric cattle prod. And Bidre was like, "What is that? Why is that in my face?" No, actually. And that was no longer in his face, using the power of just say no.
Persuasion.
Power of just say no.
No.
Yeah. So he avoided this attack, made his way to the camel, the supply camel, while all around him he was seeing the shapes of prehistoric creatures, some Cambrian explosion shit, like weird fucked up bullshit with like mini segmentations and so on. And, in his head he was like, why is this happening? How is this? This isn't how you steal some goods and supplies. But, this is what I should expect. It's just what I should expect. And thus I will concentrate in my lane, where I am moist and hydrated.
Are you thriving in it?
Did you just say moist and hydrated?
Yes.
Very
Moist
important in the
and
desert.
also hydrated.
Yeah. Hydration is what happens internally.
Well, we've just made a sea come back, so of course
Yeah,
we're
so-
extremely hydrated.
Okay. Just to be clear, I have set up a situation where Saida did something strange and bizarre that they need to do that was very extra and, way more than needs to be done. Whereas Bidre is like, I'm going to do the normal thing. And now we cut to Clem, who will, of course, do what? Will follow
Do a normal
Bidre's good
thing.
example. Yeah, you'll follow my good example.
Yes. His good example is then followed by the Leviathans, or at least the ghosts of these Leviathans, not realizing the
sake.
difference between the people who are nice and we should not kill versus the people you should scare a little bit more. So Clem really should at this point have got the ability Ghost Voice as they explain the difference between friends and food, a la Finding Emo. And we see some very cool aesthetic shots as Clem speaks back to the Leviathans and they sing back to her. And Herald marks glow up and down Clem's arms. And meanwhile, Saeed is also doing their own weird stuff. But Clem and Saeed are just singing to the Leviathans, and the Leviathans are singing back, and they're having a very normal time, not getting involved in whatever's going down in the middle of the valley. And the Prince of Endings gets referred to again here, because we can't go a session without talking about the Prince of Endings.
Yeah. Now, this is Girls' Night. This is
Yeah,
Girls'
Girls'
Night.
Night
Okay?
again.
Now, you and your bestie are holding hands, singing songs together, and talking about the boy you like.
Yeah.
Phoning up creatures from beyond the grave. This is Girls' Night. This is what the session's going to be called, actually. Girls' Night.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
Yes.
the boys are doing what exactly?
We're out and about trying to rob a camel. But it's Saida next, no? The other half of Girls' Night.
Listen, first of all, Saida's girlhood has yet to be established to the...
Okay, wait. Are you saying you have to be a girl to have Girls' Night? Okay.
No, we've
Yeah.
established Said as part of Girls' Night because we are holding hands, we are singing, we're talking about the boy we both like, and we are summoning things from beyond the grave. All three important things.
Correct, you're right. They are all three important things, and they, in many ways, build off of each other, don't they? Yeah, sorry. Are we at the bit where where Saida speaks the name fully and calls upon the Leviathans that once lived in the lake to consume utterly the beings that have so rudely entered their premises?
Yeah, I don't think we need to kind of go into any detail on that, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to make sure that like that's where we're at, because then I can describe, the horrific screams of the Jizilchis as they're being torn apart by beings that they can barely perceive, never mind understand. The fact that
that's what it sounds like in the background.
Indeed. Saida definitely sees this as divine revelation, as the fundamental understanding that their god has appeared in front of them in order to save them.
In the background, the jailers are like, geez, it just ain't my day.
Hey, I'm walking here.
So, this is the sound of someone falling into a pit, you see. Yes.
Is it a mush fixture?
Yes, shall we move on to
Was
Mushvik?
Saida done?
Save us.
Yeah.
Okay. And Mushvik up on the cliffside, he looks down upon the Jizilchis being spooked by these.
Sorry, I'm back.
So you remember? Yes. Did you have more to add to what you were doing, Tree?
Well, I was going to continue the bit, but I, to be honest, think that the bit does quite well on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and yes, and I was saying that following that bit, Mushvik looked down upon the scene of these pelagic hosts tormenting his sworn enemies, and then he had a bit of a Leroy Jenkins moment. He rode his horse straight down the sides of the valley, and straight, like he made a beeline towards Inaya, and as her camel turned around to try and breathe fire onto him, Mushvik neatly jumped off his horse, jump kicked Inaya straight off hers, and landing on the camel saddle in one smooth movement, and then taking control of the beast, he sprayed wildfire onto all the around him, like some sort of insane man during U.S. soldier during the Vietnam War, and
or even somebody who was reenacting the horrific falling star that destroyed the ocean on people already being horrifically destroyed by the ghost of the ocean.
Yes. This brought up the dead ecosystem's trauma of dying, and so the crew had to deal with the sound of a dead lake screaming, which is what happened.
Dead lake screaming. That's the name for an album.
Yeah, and Clem and Saida were almost traumatized by this, but Saida brought out Forum 43, Section 7, showing the ecosystem that it is meant to die by the ordainment of a falling star.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Don't speak to Prince like that.
Look, this.
Clem murmured forgotten names, and Mushvik relied on his link with the ancestral trees via the bananas that he carries with him.
Indeed.
Which is how the crew survived the scream of the lake without going insane, as the ecosystem subsided, took the corpses of several Jizilchis with it, but many just lay dead, dotting the desert landscape. And the crew had soundly defeated Omid's Jizilchis, killed most of his people, but Bidrohi was hot on the tail of the fleeing Omid, who had somehow escaped the carnage.
Coward!
Mm-hmm.
I remember exactly what happened. So when Bidrohi made his way to the supply camel, it wasn't just like he's making his way there. He had jumped onto it, and he basically ran off with it. Yeah, so that's what he did previously. I remember now better. So he ran off with it, kind of a little bit of banditing, and he's still on that supply camel with all the paraphernalia of, all the stuff that they need to save themselves from the Deathlands, which is why they didn't save themselves from the Deathlands, and this is how they all died. But Bidrohi is sitting pretty on his thing. So when he sees Omid running away, Omid, he understands that Omid is very important for Sherry Khatam's emotional growth and emotional journey. He understands this, so he sees Omid running away. He's like, Omid, get over here! This is the safe camel. This is the camel of safety.
Of safety.
Yeah. Get under the
This is not a
safety
trap.
camel. Yeah, it's not a trap. And to
It
make
sounds
sure
like
that he
a-
could
Come this way if you want to see your boyfriend again.
come with me if you want to live.
Camel
And,
of safety sounds like some kind of something from a trading card. Like you play the camel of safety.
Yeah.
So
And it's super effective.
So I played the Camel of Safety, and I wanted to see his counter move, right? And to make it easier for him in this screaming, whirling darkness of horrible ghost sea and Leviathan bullshit and whatever the hell's going on with Saida and Clem, I'm not really paying attention, you know. But I realize that it's creating a difficult and abrasive environment for myself and my friends, and also Omid. And he kind of deserves it. But maybe now it's time to quit. But obviously, Omid can't reliably find us in the darkness of the desert with no sun and all this going on. So I have Mona next to me, as I mentioned before. And Mona, as we remember, has a Sparkrev drill, which she thus far has used for roughly nothing, but it's really cool. So we decided to use it. So I had her hold it up like a lance, like a sort of pennant with the electroplasmic glow, which shone in the darkness like a beacon, a little lighthouse for Omid to be like, that's the safety camel. And because Omid understands the concept of a safety camel, as we all do, we all know what a safety camel is. It's not the first time you've heard these. Yeah.
No. It's because Omid actually is really into Magic the Gathering and knows that the safety camel is like a very advanced but very effective maneuver for those people who play black-orange. I don't know. I'm just playing words. I have no idea what Magic the Gathering.
I would have. I don't know. I would have thought Omid would have liked Yu-Gi-Oh more.
Well, either way, he knows. Okay, so there's new blister packs that came out for both Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh, and he knows that he needs to go back to Uduasha to see them. Otherwise, and out in the desert, there's no Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic the Gathering. There's just death.
Look,
there is only Pokemon the card game.
Yeah. Oh my god. You reckon Professor Teacher was originally a card in a Pokemon card game that was given sentience?
Just Alakazam.
Oh, it's just Alakazam.
I'm going to cut right to this because it's strange. So Omid rushes towards the camel, gets on the camel as well, and then we ride back towards Omid's. Well, if there's one thing Omid wants more than to see the new blister packs for Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic the Gathering,
it's to make out with Mushfiq.
So I bring him over there to make out with Mushfiq, and of course it's up to Mushfiq whether or not he makes out with him or not. I can't force that.
Yeah.
No, not in front of everyone.
Yeah. See, I have set up the perfect thing. I have set you up, and if you don't knock it down, that's your business.
Yes.
So I'm going to be smug, and I'm passing it on.
Having established that Omid is looking for the safety camel and can leave his friends behind because his friends don't camel, and if they don't camel anyway,
and they're all dead.
Yes.
No, four of them are still alive.
Yeah.
They might end up dead, actually.
No, Omid returned to Bidrohi took Omid back to the battlefield, and Mushfiq approached with a sword slung over his shoulder and asked Omid, interrogated him about Darta, and then whether Omid would choose to repent or die. And this is where interesting things happen, because Omid basically expressed kind of disappointment in Mushfiq, being that he thought that he was a soldier, but now I see that you joined a cult. Like seeing this fanaticism in Mushfiq's eyes, and this what is very clearly a dark god, because the Prince of Endings has done some fucked up shit, summoned ancient gods and killed people. I'm talking from Omid's point of view here, okay? I'm not.
I could sue you for that in Uduasha. There's about 43 different defamation laws.
Yes.
You can get sued for thinking about defamation.
Very good. But anyway. Frightened by what he has seen and what has become of Mushfiq, Omid chose to surrender, if nothing else because he's a pragmatist, but that said, it would be a long road before he starts believing in the Prince of Endings or in the crew's cause. Still, he surrendered. 4 of the Jazaelchis had survived, injured, and not exactly a threat, but very badly injured, and so Saida prayed to the Prince of Endings about how to proceed, and, learned that these men would not make it out of the desert. So it's either leave them to die here or create a requirement for good death, or attempt to take them back to Uduasha. And seeing as the men were suffering, Saida opted there and then to invent the funeral rite for the Prince of Endings and end these people's lives and give them a good death. So Saida got her butterfly knife, slit the Jazaelchi's throat, and Pejal had not drawn his sword during the assault, but
But Pejal was and continues to be an acolyte of
Seven-headed war, right?
Yeah, so we had a conversation about this because, like, Bidrohi is... I'm interrupting briefly because I remember the scene.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so Bidrohi, Bejal had been kind of like the resident soft boy, right? The kind of like incompetent...
He's our Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah, well...
Thanks.
I'm going to... I don't agree with that, but I don't have time to dispute it.
That's too late.
Yes.
That's how I'm picturing him from now on.
Yeah.
Okay. So he spoke to Timothy Chalamet, aka Bejal, because like we had previously seen an interaction with them.
Chalamet?
Yes. We had previously seen an interaction with them in the cave, and in fact, like I'm circling back a little bit again. I didn't talk because I'm remembering this now. So the reason Bejal and Bidrohi had talked about interior decoration was that when Bidrohi went inside the cave and saw a piece of the falling star in there, that kind of like broke his mind a little bit. So in order to cope, he decided to talk about interior decoration with Bejal, and that was a nice conversation. So in Bidrohi's mind, like this is what Bejal is like. You know, he's like his name is Problem. His name is Trouble. He's not very competent.
They call him
but it's
James,
nice.
they call him Stacy. But
Yes.
that's not his name.
That's not his name. Yeah, his name is Timothy Chalamet, apparently. Yeah. So obviously he's kind of like, he's not a hardened killer, is Bidrohi's read on this guy. So when, all this like throat slitting was going on, Bidrohi was like, I think Bidrohi also slit someone's throat because, well, Bidrohi is no stranger to violence. But then he was like, Bejal, do you want to do this or not? This is important that it would cement your role in us, but, is it okay? And I think that's when we realized that, well, he is an acolyte of Seven-Headed War. And that's not a case of him just kind of like vaguely sauntering into something without really buying into it, He has killed people before he joined us, and we learned that about him. And I think he did slit someone's throat in this moment as well.
Yeah, he helped you put down the people who were dying in the desert, and so basically the crew ambushed the Jazaelchis in the desert, kidnapped Omid, killed his people, and did a first real big fight in the desert, no holds barred, including invoking this Dead Sea. And having thus captured Omid, they took him back to the cave with the fire and questioned him about a way to rescue Darta, and learned at this point that Darta's mission had gone sideways very badly, and Darta is being held against his will by the Cholmondelese, who basically were not happy with the deal the Lord Governor proposed, and were like, we're keeping your bodyguard, your man, hostage until you meet all our demands, whatever exactly those are. Omid does not know about the demands, but Omid has this impression that we are rescuing Darta from people who are potentially quite hostile. And
if I remember correctly, the Cholmondelese were also pretty sure that this was a great way to like get some concessions from the Lord Governor, right?
The Cholmondelese were aiming to use this hostage to their own favor. Yeah.
But we learn more about the next session.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we have finally a meeting between Bidrohi and Clem that took place.
Yeah. So Bidrohi and Clem step outside of the cave for a little bit. Probably around where Mushfiq did punch that bat. Probably at this point, a month or two ago. Maybe there's still a little bit of bat blood in the sand because, aesthetics.
Clem should have told Bidrohi that that's where that happened, because Bidrohi would have put up a little plaque.
But maybe that happened on screen,
That bat was a professor, though, wasn't it? That bat was a professor, though, wasn't it?
No, that bat was the different one. It was
Was it
different.
different? Oh, okay, that's good. No, I was
Yeah, we had two
thinking
bats.
Mushfik.
One has a degree and the other one didn't.
We just don't know the backstory of the other bat.
Mhm. And now we never will because Mushfik punched it and now it doesn't want to talk to us anymore.
Hmm.
Because it's not about.
Maybe it had a PhD.
We have established that violence represents the closing of possibilities.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Anyway,
Yeah, anyway, they stepped outside to this location where Mushfik punched the bat.
gone.
Yeah.
Back
And they
puncher,
talked about how
the sequel to kick
violence.
puncher.
Yeah, and they talked about how violence closes off possibilities, or at least about what war is like, since Clem knows a lot about it. And Clem wasn't on this side of the war. Clem was on the side of the war that the Giselles she's represented here. The ones getting ambushed, not the ambushers, with superior firepower. But it turned out better for them than it did for the ambushers.
So they weren't the ambushers, they were the ambushees.
Yeah.
The
And
And
that's
I decided,
go on.
Bidre decided that war sucks.
Mm.
Single
Mm.
combat is what it is. But
Mhm.
like this bullshit where you can get killed, absolutely annihilated by someone who never even sees you.
Mm.
That's just not cool.
That's fucked up, bro.
War's not cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think
And
that's the
the-
first time Clem goes, actually, Bidra, you've got something there. You're completely
War
correct."
isn't cool. The jury's still out on violence as a concept in and of itself, but war specifically is not cool. We've established that. We'll.
What about disrespecting your elders?
Okay, so structural violence, I don't know about yet. We'll see.
Ah, okay. I see.
hmm
Mhm.
Yeah. And so that was the session that we lost the audio for. So in sum, what to catch you up on what has happened is the crew has found out about this missing silver nail held by the Cholmondelese. They've gone into the desert following Omid, who was tracking down the very same man, Darta. They ambushed Omid, killed his people, kidnapped Omid, and interrogated him, and now have a reasonable idea of what is happening. Namely, that the Lord Governor is attempting to control this tribe of outriders and semi-bandits called the Cholmondelese, and that the Lord Governor is playing a high-stakes political game of its own, in which the crew and Omid now find themselves involved. And we pick up there next session. We're very sorry about this missing audio, but we hope that listening to this, to us recapping what happened, has brought you up to speed. And we hope that you'll continue to listen next session, because let me tell you, it's a banger.
I also would like to add that we also hope, or at least I also hope, that this gives you something of an insight into the way that we play the game, which is to say, chaotically.
Let's be honest. As an informative document, this is a strange and abrasive experience.
You are not wrong.
As an experience, it is what it is.
It is a strange and informative document.
Yeah.
Should we put this as a disclaimer? I say, should we put this as a disclaimer at the start?
Yeah.
No. We should have the disclaimer at the end.
Yes.
Well, as a podcast, we hope you've enjoyed listening to us and hanging out with us, and that you will continue to enjoy hanging up with us as we proceed with the story and as we continue to unravel the story of the Rising Moon Sword School and the House of Endings. And we'll see you next time. Here close the doors to the House of Endings. Those who dwell within are Zoheb, called Klow, Aadiyat, called Zoheb, Salmitry, called Tree, and Salty. I have been Prince, your host. Our city of Uduasha is based on Blades in the Dark by John Harper and Evil Hat Productions, with special thanks to Johnstone Metzger. Follow us on Twitter or support us on kofi.com/desperateattune. If you want to engage further with us, we also have a Patreon at patreon.com/desperateattune, where you will get our newsletter, extra content, and updates from Uduasha.